Okay, so this is unit 3, lesson 8.1, and it's product of powers. So basically this is always dealing with exponents. All right, so the learning targets are I can multiply powers that have the same base, I can raise a power to a power, and I can find the power of a product. All right, so those are our 3 rules that we're going to discuss through this lesson. All right, so these are important because we need to remember how to use these rules and apply them to actual problems. All right, so let's look at this little example here. All right, so this is just kind of showing us how to prove our rule. Okay, so express as repeated multiplication. So right now I have 2 to the 3rd power and 2 to the 5th power. So remember, if I have something like 3 squared, okay, a common problem is people often will say that that's 6, okay, and that's not true, right? 3 times 2 is 6. 3 squared literally means 3 times 3, which is 9. All right, so when I say write this as a repeated multiplication, I mean, let's write this first. 2 cubed literally means 2 times 2 times 2, and then we're multiplying that by 2 to the 5th. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. All right, so we're literally multiplying 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Okay, so that's 2 to the 8th power. Okay, this one I'm taking negative 8 squared, so that means negative 8 times negative 8. And then I'm taking negative 8 to the 4th. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 factors. So this is going to be negative 8 to the 6th power. And if you notice, this is 3, this was 5, and that was to the 8th. This is 2, this is 4, this is to the 6th. So I'm just adding them. All right? Y, so this would be y times y cubed, 1, 2, 3, times y squared, 2 y's, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is y to the 6th. So remember, the important thing here is, even though there's nothing there, that term really has a 1. Okay, so I did 1 plus 3 plus 2, which equals 6. Or I can write them all out. All right, that's obviously a lot of work that I'm just showing you right now. Okay, a couple of important things here. So this is my exponent, right? That's also called my power. Okay, so I'm going to call that my exponent for power. All right, and then this term, the big number, here it's an x. Up here, it would have been 3. That's called my base. Okay, so if I'm multiplying 2 powers that have the same base, we're going to add the exponents. Okay, so I'm multiplying 2 powers with the same base, so this is a to the m power times a to the n. This up here is my exponent, so I'm going to add them. Okay, so here I'm multiplying 2 powers with the same base. They're both 5. If one was 5 and one was 6, that would be no good, but since they're both 5, I could rewrite the base, and then I add the exponents. So that would be 5 to the 9th. And even though that doesn't look it, that's just like that, 5 to the 9th. All right, so let's look at example 1. All right, so example 1, 2 powers with the same base, and I'm multiplying them. All right, so I'm going to add the exponents. So I like to start off writing it like this. All right, let's write it step by step so we don't make any mistakes. So that equals 4 to the 10th power. Okay, now if I was multiplying these and my final answer was 4 squared, I would probably go ahead and finish it and write 16. But something like 4 to the 10th is going to be a huge number, so I'm not going to write that. Okay, you guys go ahead and try the U-tries, and then make sure that you answer B into Zaption. Okay, and when you enter it, it's not going to let you put an exponent. So if I was going to write that, what I'm going to write is x. I'm going to use a caret. All right, that's on your keyboard. The caret to the 8th. That means the same thing as x squared, x to the 8th power. All right, also go ahead and fill in your shade bar after you've completed those. All right. So my next one here. So I have 5 to the 4th squared. All right, so again, if I want to expand that, that literally means 5 times 4, 5 to the 4th times 5 to the 4th. All right, just like 2 squared literally means 2 times 2. 5 to the 4th squared means 5 to the 4th times 5 to the 4th. All right, now I'm going to express it as repeated multiplication. So 5 to the 4th means 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. 5 to the 4th means 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. So there's 8 factors, so that means 5 to the 8th. All right, same thing here. Negative 6 squared to the 3rd power. Okay, so that means negative 6 squared times negative 6 squared times negative 6 squared, and then I expand it out further. So how many factors do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that means negative 6 to the 6th power. All right, let's go ahead and write out this one. So d cubed means d cubed times d cubed times d cubed. Okay, so now if I wanted to rewrite this out, that would be d times d times d, then d times d times d, d times d times d. Okay, so how many total factors? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so that's d to the 9th power. All right, and let's see what my rule is here. So 2 and 4, I got 8. So it kind of looks like I did 4 times 2 and got 8. Here I did 2 times 3 and got 6. Here I did 3 times 3 and got 9. All right, so to find a power of a power, you multiply the exponents. All right, so a to the m power and all that to the n is going to be a to the m times n. All right, and that sounds confusing, but it makes sense when we get to regular numbers here. All right, so again, it's almost like distributing that 2 to the 4 there. So this really means 3 to the 4 times 2 power, which equals 3 to the 8, which is like that, right? It's just kind of hard to see there. All right, so for our first example there, I have this 7 to the 4th power, and that's all to the power of 3. So I kind of like distributing just to that exponent. All right, so that really equals 7 to the 4 times 3 power. All right, and that equals 7 to the 12th. Okay, so again, if I have an exponent outside of a group of exponents, I'm going to multiply that in. All right, so that's called power of a power, because that means this has a power, and it's to another power. Okay. All right, so you guys go ahead and try the U-tries, and then go ahead and enter in the answer into Zaption. Make sure you fill out your shade bar here. Remember, if you have to enter an exponent, I think you're going to have to use a form like that. Okay, and that means the same as this. Okay. All right, last one, power of a product. All right, so to find the power of a product, we want to find I'm going to actually cross off find and say distribute the exponent to all exponents inside. All right, so what this means is that this goes to each term in there. All right, so if there's an exponent outside of parentheses, it goes to both terms. So this actually would look like that. All right, for one like this, notice that there's multiplication inside. All right, this does not work. 2 plus 4 squared. You cannot do that. All right, it's power of a product. Remember, product means multiplication, so there has to be multiplication inside. So that distributes to both. So 23 to the 5th times 17 to the 5th. I distributed to both exponents. All right, so for my example here, 3 I find first there's multiplication inside. That is so very important. Okay, there